Hey all, this is Owen Tuboku and...
Your returning evening jackass, Mr. Jherick.
Alright, and yes, sorry it was a while, I just did not have the time to sort of fit it in, because as you guys know, I try to do other things either around the house or other things I need to get done in between all these reviews. So it was a while for us to get to the next one. And as you guys know, we last left off with my review of Fullmetal Alchemist episode 20, Soul of the Guardian. But here is Jherick, who, as we were just talking, will probably go way over 6 minutes for this one, but give it away to Jherick with your thoughts.
Indeed. Light the rant signal, Commissioner Gordon.
Oh, God.
Jackass Man's about to appear.
You always do.
But yeah, this is actually kind of a neat... I mean, it's such a simple, episode. It's just, basically Edward fighting with the empty suit of armor, which we inevitably find out is actually...
Slicer brothers 1 and 2, or older brother 48 and younger brother 48.
Which is kind of hilarious, that they played this level of trickery with it, giving these two like-minded brothers into one suit, probably realizing that eventually somebody who's smart is actually going to catch on to this shit. So why not throw them a curveball and put two souls in a suit of armor?
Well, it's funny too, because here's the thing: one says I'm the older brother, another says he's the younger. What we don't know, because since they're both number 48, are they just twin brothers? The one being the older brother was born first, and the other brother being,
you mean
born like minutes later?
So you mean are they twin brothers or fraternal twin brothers?
Either way, maternal or fraternal twin brothers, it doesn't matter, because why would they? I've always thought that. Why are they both named number 48? Unless that was the joke when they made them.
Well, and
because they're sharing the same armor.
Kind of reminds me of what was it? Final Fantasy VII, when you find out that Cloud was so uninteresting to Hojo that he didn't even bother giving him a number. Like that whole scene where he's like, "Give me a number, anything, I'll take anything, please." Yeah, anybody who's played the original FF7 knows that scene. But I mean, it could be like that, because honestly, those prison camps, they did do dumb shit like that. They would do that kind of stuff just to psychologically break you, torment you, or hell, just to show you that they think that you're nothing, and they're going to prove it by basically forcing you to share a number with your own kin. I mean, assuming they even were brothers, because try to remember, with soldiers, bandits, or just people who do a lot of fighting together for a long period of time. Maybe you're not blood related, but you fought together so long that you're practically family, so you just call yourselves brothers.
I guarantee you, probably for the purposes of the story, though, I guarantee they probably were actual brothers, because I never noticed the parallels they try to make in this episode between the Elrics and them, so I'm like, yeah.
Well, and given how well their voice lines parallel with one another, it's like Tomax and Zaymon from the G.I. Joe cartoon. Again, if you're old enough to remember Tomax and Zaymon from the Gen 1 cartoon. But it's actually pretty, it's a neat thing, because, yeah, you would think, like Edward did, I'll just chop the head off and then the body will not be able to be animated.
You keep talking. I'm going to see if I can get him to calm down, because I am still wearing my shoes, and I wonder if that's why he's going on mad. But keep talking, Joe.
But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those neat little bullshit tricks you would expect. And hell, I wouldn't even be too shocked if, what was the name of that brigadier asshole? The one who got killed?
Oh, the one who was in charge of the prison?
Yeah.
Oh, Bhaskaran.
But I wouldn't even be shocked if that was Bhaskaran's idea, because honestly, I've been kind of floating this idea in my head ever since I resaw this episode. That I noticed, like, the sword they're fighting Ed with is kind of like a fancier, more tricked out version of like a cavalry captain's state cutlass. And I'm thinking to myself, I wouldn't be too shocked if these guys probably, like in one of their last capers, got lucky and killed one of his state alchemists at the cavalry level.
What?
So then when they got in prison...
Honky, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
And then Bhaskaran just decided, hey, as long as we're going to use these guys in an experiment and have them guard this place, why didn't I just let them use the sword of the guy they killed from my unit? Because I mean, I have no idea what's got him so worked. Well, he did see a cat earlier. He was
he did.
worked up about that.
All right, well, keep going.
But yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if like he was just, you know what, these guys were talented enough to kill one of my state alchemist cavalry captain knights. I'll just let them keep the saber because they're going to be doing this for us anyways. And honestly, when you see how weaponized this thing is, it's like, you know, it's already a cavalry captain's cutlass. It's like, why the hell did you have to put spikes on the handguard? I mean, not quite as overkill as my Precious over here, but you get the idea, because theirs is like, you know, it's got like the, it's more straight, you know, it's more rectangular rather than this rounded design. And yet, it still shares some of the more fantasy elements of having a curved blade, like a katana, or in my case, my Tachi-style Tanto. But it's kind of funny, because I'm thinking, like, with how, you know, a little out there the design of this sword was, I'm thinking this would have had to have been at least a state alchemist level officer of a higher standing. So, again, you know, given that it's a cutlass, probably like a cavalry captain or something like that. And I mean, hey, these guys look like they were already proficient with katanas. So, since a cutlass has a similar enough design, it's like just let him keep the dude's sword. Heck, they might have even been he might have even been the guy who was guarding the prison complex. And it's just like they killed him, they're taking his place. Because again, that was not exactly uncommon during those times. And it's like, you know, kind of fits with the theme. Like these guys mention, you know, how this is the only way of life they've ever had, killing people just to do whatever it takes to survive. And again, given the design of the armor, it looks more like it would be kind of like a bandit's armor, scrapped together from whatever they pulled off of the corpses they've killed.
Yeah, well, and also, too, you look at the parallel again, the Slicer brothers look like the more menacing version of Alphonse.
Yeah.
Where, you know, we talk about, because he'll be mentioned in this, Barry the Chopper, number 66 ones, who's absolutely demonic looking at his form.
Yeah. And I mean, you can see it in the way they fight. Like, they are good fighters, but you can tell that they're probably not, you know, formally educated in sword fighting. They've definitely picked up more than a few tricks along the way with all the fights they've been in. And given how well coordinated they are in every particular way, you can tell that they've probably had to use this whole two souls in one body gimmick at least once or twice. So these are guys who are very talented at fighting, but they probably haven't had a formal education in it.
Well, I would say akin to how some of them were trained into actual, probably fitting with the Japanese mythology of the country samurai. Where not all country samurai were trained by the Bushido Code, but still had the level. Not all of them, but some of them had the level of respect, because the Slicer brothers do have that honor and stuff like that, but maybe they didn't fight under the same code as the Bushido system.
A great way of explaining it would be if any of you have seen the anime Samurai Champloo, the difference between Mugen and Jin. Jin is clearly a far more refined samurai, even if he is still Ronin. Mugen is just a wild, chaotic mess of a man. Even right down to his, or hell, Dante and Virgil, if you want to go that route.
Yeah, vis-a-vis, as long as you mentioned Samurai Champloo, you know, the Spike Spiegel of Samurai.
Exactly.
Because Jet was way more still the cop. Spike was the, you know, I used to be a part of a gang and, you know, shoot 'em up, bang, bang, either way. Well, I know how to do that and be intelligent at the same time. Well,
isn't it funny? Both of them look like they used their own improvised version of Jeet Kune Do. So,
yeah.
Again, hey, maybe one day we'll get around to that one. But
I plan on it. You know, we just.
But it's kind of neat because in this one, it's kind of. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is a fight episode.
Oh yeah.
But to me, it's more of a psychological analysis episode because during the fight, you know, they're bantering back and forth, and you know they can tell that Edward is clearly incredibly disciplined. You know, he's intelligent, he's clever, he thinks on his feet. He may not be quite as disciplined in like straight up fighting and whatnot as like Roy Mustang or my boy Mr. Alexander Louis Armstrong, but they can tell that just like them, he has the talent for it. And they can even see other parallels, like clearly he's fighting for someone or for something. And when they notice he's got the automail, you know, that kind of like you start to see this almost like you know, almost Obi-Wan and Anakin in a sense. You know, it's like there are parallels, differences, and yet at the same time, like in that last duel on Mustafar, you can just see the culmination of everything. They have similarities, but they also have their dividing differences.
Yeah. Well, not only that, don't forget to say that, because I know you mentioned Roy Mustang and Alex Louis Armstrong, but don't forget to mention that he tells Slicer Brother 1 and 2, before he knows that they're two people, that he tells them both that, hey, my brother is even way better than I am. I've never been able to beat him until this point. So, again, it shows you how much respect they have for Edward when he's not even the best fighter. Plus, you can see it when Alphonse fights Barry, and his stuff, he knows how to fight, but it's purely defensive.
Well, and it's funny, too, because in a sense, both fights are mirrors, but opposite mirrors of each other, whereas Edward is a bit more disciplined. The Slicer brothers are more experienced. Mm-hmm. Whereas, what's his name? Alphonse is definitely significantly more disciplined, and he's also a bit more tactical in how he approaches things.
Yeah.
Barry is much more wild and chaotic. Like I told Zach, Boku.
It's okay.
Sorry, had Zach on. Anyways, I told him when I was watching this, it's like, it's funny. Thematically, it would actually make almost more sense for Ed to fight Barry, since both of them share similar mindsets. In a sense, being single-minded, obsessive, very meticulous, but at the same time highly obsessive, whereas Alphonse would make a better match for the Slicer brothers because, again, much more disciplined and calculated in terms of how they do things. But it's funny how, when he's alone, away from Al and everyone else, Ed can finally be honest and admit, yeah, Alphonse is actually better than me at this stuff. And it's funny that you never see him do that unless it's a situation like this, because you can kind of tell, like at the beginning of the fight, he was probably thinking to himself, maybe, I could take these guys out because maybe they're dogs of the military or whatever, like these are bad people. Why else would they be in prison? But then he starts talking to them in the middle of the fight, and he starts seeing the parallels between himself and his brother and them. And by the end of it, and God help me, this is such a hard scene to talk about, but I know for Ed it's an act of compassion, not killing them, because that's the kind of person he is. He's already seen enough death, and he already knows how much more death he's going to have to cause just to try to get the body of him and his brother back. Mm-hmm. But for the brothers, this is kind of the worst cruelty he could have given them, because as they themselves state, we've never been treated as anything more than monsters. We've always had to live like this, killing people, doing anything just to survive. You are the first person in our entire lives who has ever treated us as anything more than a monster. And I know the laugh comes off as like, being one of those kooky, crazy, haha, look at how Joker I'm about to go here. But really, it's more of a cry of pain when you think about it.
Well, yeah.
Because death was the only thing left these guys had. And the state alchemists kind of denied them that by bonding them to the suit. Now, granted, they could have destroyed themselves. I mean, they could have just destroyed their blood seal, and that would have been the end of that. But the fact that they gave them the option to, protect the prison, kind of gave them one last chance to, and I hate to say this, to seek death on their own terms by finding a superior opponent.
Well,
which, again, goes along hand in hand with the Samurai Bushido creed. Suicide would be one of the worst things you could choose, and it would only be an option if you had committed something so utterly unforgivable that even heaven would not look upon you.
Well, and again, you bring that up, and that's how they view it, and they even tell Edward that we are not really living, we're just souls bonded, so just do, and people like that, especially murderers who have that kind of code, they would, other ones have said that in other movies or even lore. That's why you made me think of a question right now that I wanted to bring up, that imagine if the Slicer brothers fought Alphonse instead of Edward, and Edward fought Barry instead of the Slicer brothers, because I wonder if Edward got reminded of Barry, considering the fear he had of Barry the Chopper when he was kidnapped by him. how that would have went and how the dynamic between the Slicer brothers and Alphonse would have went.
And that's the thing, it would have changed the dynamic in so many ways. Like, I could see Barry actually managing to get, actually maybe even killing Edward just based... And there it goes.
Well, it's been doing this again. Oh, there it goes.
I could actually see him just, like maybe getting lucky and causing a little bit of a flashback, giving him that open shot. Because Barry, being the butcher that he is, would undoubtedly not even waste time for the arm. He would go for, like, the neck or another vital point. So, honestly, I think, like, had the situation been flipped, Barry could have had a shot. But at the same time, if Ed had won against Barry, I could see him finishing him off just because he knows this is not a man who will ever stop or change. This is a dyed-in-the-wool killer. If I don't kill him, he will kill again.
Exactly. Plus, you would have to factor in, would Edward have had any PTSD, thinking, I almost died by this man the last time I saw him? Well, would that have factored in at all?
The only other reason I would also give Edward the opportunity to win is, knowing Barry and the type of sadistic little piece of shit that he is, he would probably try to chide him by mentioning Winry. And we all know what the fuck Ed would do if that happens.
Oh, he would lose it instantly.
So more than likely, yeah, Ed would absolutely ice this guy. Now, with like Al versus the Slicer brothers, strangely enough, I kind of see it playing out the same way, except Al probably would have beaten the Slicer brothers even easier. Because, again, Al's a little bit of a more intelligent and tactical fighter. And he knows he's got the reach advantage with his armor being bigger and longer. Which, by the way, if you want to know the reason why that's such a huge deal in martial arts, check out the Ranma 1/2 episode where he's stuck as a girl and he has to fight Moose for the first time. Great episode, and I used to have the manga of that. The manga was even better, by the way. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like with Ed and Barry, yeah, it could kind of go 50-50, dependent. But with Al, I kind of see him winning either way.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny how you brought that up because, again, differences between the anime and manga, and it's such a small thing, but it's before he takes out the first half of the Slicer brothers, being the older brother, when he talks about his brother. And again, the reason why Edward is also struggling too is because Winry forgot to add Edward thinks it's because his arm's light, which is true. The arm's light, or he doesn't want to damage, but Winry also forgot an extra bolt that keeps the arm locked in all the way. So there's that, but at the same time too, in the manga, and we even saw it in Brotherhood, and I made this comparison, I don't know if I brought it up in my review, so I'll say it here now, is that, again, in Brotherhood and in the manga, he does the trick out with the older Slicer brothers where he talks about Alphonse, but Alphonse isn't there. In this one, what I liked, he does the trick out, but Alphonse, there's the silhouette of Alphonse that's there, and we all thought Edward was making a spear, which the Slicer hacks up, and then he's like, he looks to behind him, and he's like, no, Al, and then he looks behind, and there's actually a silhouette that he transmuted of Alphonse in place of the spear, so the spear was just a ruse to create Alphonse behind him, and that fooled the older Slicer long enough to do that, and I thought that was so cool, then it just being like, hey, look over there, huh? There's nothing. Oh shit, that.
Well, yeah, because Ed probably realized this guy's probably just as much of a killer as Barry. He's just a much smarter killer than Barry, so he would have to actually have something that would, justify him turning around like that. And that was a cool trick too, because I love how he says, "Oh, you think you can beat me by just manifesting a spear and beating me with a distance reach?" Which, true, I mean, spears actually are kind of superior for that, but the problem is, if you go up against a more intelligent and disciplined warrior, they can know how to close the gap, because a spear really is kind of if you miss that first initial thrust, of course they're going to, go around, close the gap, and you're basically left with nothing.
Well, like how you already said, the instances of Japanese Bushido styles and everything they call back to this episode, it really is like, This episode really is a nod between Kurosawa and all the Japanese films that probably came during that time period, because there's so many fight and callbacks and warrior things.
Because, I mean, that's kind of the thing, like, it gives you the reach advantage, but again, that's very much a sort of a Hail Mary, because if you're at a close enough range and the other guy's got a weapon that works better in close quarters, as Leon Kennedy told Ada Wong, try a knife in close quarters. Works better in close quarters fights. By the way, that was one of the best scenes in Resident Evil 4. I love that. She's got her pistol. He's close enough. He's got the knife. It's like, you have to hand it to Leon. He finally got the drop on her.
And you know what? Because of what you mentioned, if Edward had taken on Barry, and since Barry mentioned it, I'm gonna have you springboard off this one because I think it's cool. Because as we said, the older brother Slicer gets taken out, and then the younger brother Slicer, who could still fight, he fights against Edward, and he's a little bit more rough and not as disciplined, and this is what I think also led to Edward's victory, because I'll let Jherick explain what Edward did if you guys didn't see my review to where I went in depth of it, because I believe I mentioned it, but I want him going more in depth of it. But I also think why the younger Slicer brother lost is because what fueled him. You'll pay for what you did to my older brother. I will let you transmute. So in many ways, the younger brother was more frantic than the older brother, and he was going that, which I think allowed him to do the final thrust, which gave Edward the chance to do that, what we were just talking about too.
Which is hilarious, because I mean, just moments before they're telling him, oh, you're not going to get us with by just getting a spear and having the reach advantage. But then when he manages to knock the older brother the head portion off, he makes that exact mistake. He overextends with his thrust, and then Edward, realizing he's in desperate straits, pulls a move out of Scar's handbook. It's like he hits him with a deconstruction alchemy. And I love how the older brother's the one who picks up on it first. He's like, alchemy?
He only used deconstruction.
And it's such a great scene because you see him thinking about Scar, and this is actually where I noticed, hey, wait a minute, Scar's also got a crucifix on his pants too.
Yeah. Well, one again, too, I love how for him to do it, he visualized the younger brother being like Scar, and where, again, sort of like how we got Edward, where Edward sort of, even though he was shorter, not as long-reached as that, it was the same thing, where Edward went high for a strike, Scar went low. That's what the younger Slicer brother did. He went in for the final stab with the forward thrust, sort of. And I'm going to say he got it embedded in the not pull, but the column. Got it embedded in the column, and when he went low.
Well, and that's the brilliant part about it, because again, Ed being a little bit of a short stack king makes it easier to go for that low thrust. Because again, if you're going to use a spear, you're usually looking at a mid to like high thrust. You're usually not going to be going for a low stab. And Edward being smaller, of course, it makes it easier to duck underneath and go for that, low palm thrust.
And then again, and a good thing of brilliant comedy to break up the tension for that moment. Yeah. I love how it's like there's not three Slicer brothers and one hitting the legs. No.
And it's kind of neat to realize
poking the legs.
That like the smarter of the two brothers is the head, and then the more reckless and impulsive one is the legs or the body.
Well, the body, yeah.
Which kind of reminds me of like Firestorm the Nuclear Man, where Ron Raymond, the football star, is basically the body, whereas the nuclear physicist is kind of the disembodied ghost head giving advice from the scenes. I mean, it's a weird comic, but hey, stick with it. It's actually a good one. But it's kind of neat like that. Like, you can tell, the older brother is the head because, well, he's the brains of the operation. And also, like, even if he gets knocked off, he can still give his younger brother advice because he's still seeing everything. And I'd have to imagine, since they're kind of sharing a blood seal, that they're both kind of sharing information.
Well, and what I loved was, for that episode, the fear tactic that obviously the older brother Slicer used, where it's like, okay, I'll let you talk, allow my younger brother to get up and take you by surprise. So fooling Edward, thinking, oh, well, I'll give you information, but have you won yet, huh? Zing!
Yep, and I mean, it's a great tactic. Also, just kind of reminds me of the old myths of like knights fighting a Doulahan, where you go for that headshot and then stab. Oh, shit, that wasn't the main part of the body, was it?
And then not only that, since you said the older brother was the more wiser in the brains, look how the younger brother, even though in pieces, was trying to still reach out to Edward no matter how he could, and then he just sort of lays there defeated, and he literally still goes, older brother, have we lost? Unfortunately, yes, we have, younger brother.
And, I mean, when you think about it, this is like the worst punishment he could have given them. And he probably doesn't even realize that, because even if he lets them live, they're going to be stuck alone until their blood seal wears out in this empty prison. And the only other person they could potentially have for company is either the military or Barry the Chopper.
Since you and I know what also happens to them after this point, in case none of you guys have not seen it, since we do spoiler territory, we won't mention it yet, but I guarantee, and well, this will sort of spoil it without going into what happens, but had, what happens in the next episode didn't happen, I think Edward would have done what he did to Alphonse. He would have brought their pieces together, reconstructed them. But then again, even though he's treating them nice, it's because they're at his mercy. What else can the older and younger brother do? Who's to say if he did that, would they be grateful? Or it's like, thanks, kid, we owe you one, but still, we also counted against our employers, or there will be even a face worse than death. Shink.
I mean,
and people said, would you think they would? It's possible they could have probably done that.
It's possible, but, also considering that he did best them in combat, and,
they would still honor it, yes.
Well, and also, him trying to protect his brother as well, I could easily see them also being like, we have to concede defeat, but, we are still bound to our contractor, so if we see you again, then we'll resolve matters.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny that you mentioned, like, the whole Samurai Bushido thing with this, because, again, I mean, I'm sure a lot of our fans in Brazil probably already know this. You guys are, just as big anime fans as we are, but Samurai did not exactly go out of their way to use katanas a lot. In fact, actually, they use spears and bow and arrows and even guns more.
Spears, naganatas, and all that. Well, plus people think ninjas were the originator of the nunchucks. No, it was a samurai that originated the nunchucks.
Kind of ironic when you think about it, especially considering that Ninja was created by a samurai who did not like the samurai way, so he wanted something new.
And then what happens? The ninja hate the samurai and vice versa.
And
also well portrayed in, since he brought The Last Samurai, well portrayed in The Last Samurai movie when the ninja tried to come to assassinate Ken Watanabe.
Well, it probably didn't hurt that, help that one of the most famous samurai of all time got basically commissioned being the lord of one of the most famous ninja clans of all time, aka Yakubu Yubei Soborari. Yeah, I got Samurai Showdown on Steam now.
Yeah. Well, again, one of the best things about it is, I know it's sort of based off what you just mentioned, but again, Ninja Scroll, where you have Genma and Jubei fighting, and then it's just like two guys who were best friends who believed in that code, and since Genma turned away from the code, just that whole thing, I'll keep killing you, no matter how many times you come back alive. Such a great fucking scene, and credit to Dean Wayne for giving great acting.
Or hey, the guy thinking he couldn't be killed, I'm an immortal. Okay, I'm going to cover you in liquid gold and let you sink to the bottom of the river.
Oh, what irony that is, because he wanted that gold so bad to take over the Toyotomi, and it's like, well, you got what you wanted, you're now covered in it.
I mean, hey, that's how they killed Wolverine. They doused him in liquid adamantium and let him suffocate to death. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of a funny thing. It's like we get a lot of our Samurai Showdown in this episode, and of course they have to end it in the best way possible with a teaser of the idea that next round on Death Battle, Alphonse versus Barry the Chopper, and we even do get a few moments of them actually fighting and bantering. Well, I mean, maybe we would have gotten the fight if Barry hadn't decided to go full Sosuke Aizen on him and mess with his head.
Yeah.
And honestly, aside from like the fight with the Slicer brothers and seeing Ed basically pull a scar on them, which, dear God, Brotherhood needed that so bad.
Yeah.
But this was honestly something that needed more, like, with, now granted, we know it's...
Well, to be fair, this scene played out the same in Brotherhood as it did here, which is what I liked, but because I will spoil this for you guys, in this show, Barry stays a villain, not a comedic ally helping Roy Mustang, and then, oh my God, there's a homeless dog pawing at my blood seal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's just say Barry kind of does a bit better here.
Hiromu Arikawa, I've read your manga. I don't think I've read that part of it, but I love your manga. I love your work, but that was a little underwhelming, and it's weird seeing.
Yeah.
Again, in your manga, you didn't give the whole backstory on Barry, but it's like, what I liked about the backstory were shown not to like this guy, what this guy did to these women, what he was doing, what he almost did to Winry, what he almost did to Edward. They made this guy a villain and an unlikable person who was a psychopath. And then, yeah, he's got some comedy, he's got some stuff, but again, he stays the villain, which is what I like. Him becoming this reluctant ally is like...
Well, I mean, let's be honest, Barry doesn't... in Brotherhood, Barry doesn't do a lot of chopping.
No.
No chopping.
He asks about it a lot. Did you know that? Like,
yeah.
Did I chop him up? Can I chop this guy up? Can I chop that guy up?
Yeah.
What do you do? Yes, you helped out with Lust, but what did Lust do to you? Rip you into tiny pieces.
Yep. And how sad is that? How sad is that? A man who wants to chop up women, and he finds out a woman's better at chopping him.
Yeah. And where did Lust really got the jollies out of that one instead of with this? Oh, well, she's just going to chop up a person she may or may not know in the original called Scar with a psychotic look on her face. But that was brilliantly drawn, by the way.
You know, let's be honest, that's the fight we all want to see. Oh, that is the fight we need to see. Scar versus Lust.
Here, keep going, I'll get it.
But, yeah, I mean, he gets into Al. I mean, we see Al just absolutely humiliate him with the old, I'm just going to hold you back with the palm of my hand because of how small you are. Which I have to imagine he probably did to Edward a few times. But, you know, and I love how Barry's like, aren't you worried? I'm an empty suit of armor. I'm scary. You should be like, an empty suit of armor. And then he shows us like, yeah. I am too.
He doesn't even say anything. He just takes off his head. How did you do that?
I love how he's like, but that means I know your weakness. You have a blood seal. All I got to do is hit your blood seal and you're done for. It's like, yeah, but I could do the same to you. And you don't know where my blood seal is. Oh, well, you don't know where my blood seal is either. It's like two little kids going at it.
Yeah. Well, again, because he thinks he's got the upper hand. And again, which, even though those are as funny as it is, even though Barry had a few shots on him, again, he knew he couldn't harm him that much physically. But at the same time, Alphonse was always defensively while fighting, and he knew how to either slam him back or hit him or trip him up. And then, like I said, it's only when Alphonse, being as nice as he is, which... Praise be to God, he is a nice kid, and he definitely believes, like we said, in spiritualism, which is better shown in the original than, again, in Brotherhood, I think. And it's because of that naivety, because he mentions his brother, that's where Barry probably put two and two together. I know how to get at this guy now to defeat him.
Yeah.
How do you know this is? And again, like in Brotherhood, the manga, and like this, Barry uses the context for I know who I am because I kill, therefore I am. You say you have a brother in this. How do you know that all these friends weren't fake? That what your brother did was fake? And then
and what's interesting is how perfectly that plays upon the fears he was already having, because it's already been shown that he's already losing a few of his memories. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to say Edward wouldn't do this. I mean, we know he probably could, but how easy would it be for a prodigy like him to create a false facsimilation of his brother?
Yeah.
So technically, yeah, his brother could do that. Now we know Edward wouldn't do that because after what happened with his mom and that the thing that started all of this, he wouldn't. He's got too much of a respect for life. But the fact remains, even his brother knows, yeah, he's got the intelligence, he could.
And again, to call back to it, because I don't think it was in Brotherhood, I think it was in this original one. Because Alphonse was having trouble remembering details of his own life. Because there was that one girl who rode by on the bike he couldn't remember. And that was a friend they used to play with. He couldn't remember her. And then Alphonse remembers it. And the playback to this episode we're talking about, where Alphonse, or Edward that night, had something important he wanted to tell Alphonse about something he did.
And that's the thing.
He just said, never mind, it didn't matter. And then that's what sparked him. I know who I am. He wouldn't lie to me. And then the paranoia and fear just come rushing in.
And that's the thing, because, I mean, again, they built up to this moment, with him, not being able to remember what physical touch is like, what eating is like, what sleeping is like. We've already seen his fears that he's losing his humanity, and Well, I mean, it would make sense if you weren't a human to begin with. So, honestly, this was a very cold and calculated move by Mr. Barry the Chopper, which again shows why we prefer OG Barry to Dan Hibiki Barry from Brotherhood.
Yeah, because again, he does the same thing in Brotherhood, but this, because we got to see Barry before and see how nasty Barry was to Edward, this is his return receipt for like. Plus, you gotta mention that Barry relished in this, because Barry does say in this one that I know you and your brother were, instrumental for my arrest. So he remembers who the Elricks were, and that Edward was the one he was trying to kill, and Alphonse was there helping in his arrest when he got arrested. So he remembers who they are. And
that probably actually made Alphonse's paranoia about that even worse, because how come this guy's memory is still so good when he's just as empty of a suit of armor as I am?
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, this was a great way to really introduce that phobia, that fear of disconnection from his humanity.
And because you brought it up, since we're sort of near the end of the episode really with this, like how you said where it was the whole, not really a madness laugh, but it's a laugh of pain because we're being treated like humans. You see the thing where Edward's sitting there, the older Slicer brother's laughing. And by the way, the younger Slicer brother is a little weirded out by this too, by the way, because he even says as a question, brother? Like he can't believe how he's laughing, and then you see Alphonse sitting there kneeling in agony, looking up with the laughter, and then it cuts to the moon before it fades out.
Well, again,
just with the older Slicer laughing
again
and echoing throughout the whole night.
Mirrored opposites. The older Slicer brother's the one who kind of loses his shit. The younger Elric one's the one. And right before we end this, I can't believe I forgot this again.
Well, what'd you do?
Well, I mean, since we did mention a little something in this review, granted, it's not a traditional spear by any means, but...
Oh, okay.
I do actually happen to own a Nagi... Well, it's kind of more of a dao slashed with a naginata. It's got the hilt, but it's kind of got more of a Chinese head on it.
And not that I wanted to add to it, but as you put that back, I'll basically mention it here. Did you want to bring up for this one, or did you want to wait for what you were telling me about the comparative? Because we were mentioning the comparatives between Brotherhood and the original, and you wanted to bring up, I don't know if it was for this one or you want to do it later down the line, of the connection between DC and Marvel. You mentioned something about that.
Thank you for reminding me, but...
It sounded like you wanted to bring up this one, so that's why I mentioned it here, because before we ended, I wanted to make sure you get your 2 cents across for that.
Because, well, I do love me my knives. I am a Senjuro Kyoshiro main in Samurai Showdown. But the thing is, the thing that really strikes me, we had a conversation about this earlier before the review, and it made me realize that there's a kind of an interesting dichotomy with original Fullmetal and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, that it reminds me of Marvel and DC with how just kind of, I mean, I love Marvel, don't get me wrong, but I'm a DC man all the way, because that was my start.
Same here.
And it's always struck me how insanely overpowered Marvel characters can be sometimes. And it almost feels like a Pokemon match where if you don't have the right type advantage, you're just going to get blasted by this person until the narrative says otherwise. And then like you have DC where there are some genuinely, insanely creative fights. I mean, hell, that's kind of like just Green Lantern and Flash's thing altogether. There have been Batman comics where his just absolute autism just causes him to do the kind of stuff where it's like, now I see where the fans get it. Hell, Superman in his battles with Lex Luthor and Brainiac, I mean, there are just moments in DC where you get to see people have to actually really put the old brain cells and fire up the neurons on all powers.
I don't know if it's the right word, but the dichotomy between them and...
Oh, sorry, God, I forget what the word with a D is,
Well, no, it's
the diametric difference between them. Sorry, but yeah, it's kind of like that because I mean there are so many moments in Marvel where it's like nobody is touching this asshole until either the narrative said otherwise or you get the right Pokemon superhero. And then in DC, yeah, people who have been absolutely beaten senseless, but you better believe one way or another they will figure something out, or at least last long enough until they can get the help they need. And that's always something I preferred about DC, is like, there's just a few too many characters who just kind of get to go full gladiator all the time. Until you break his ego.
Yeah. Well, no, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because another thing we bring up that's like it is like how you and I are fans of the original seasons of Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, the original stuff, and
GT still can't improve me wrong.
Well, same to me, and GT, where Kai cut out, I think, most or all of the filler. And yes, they say a bit more adult stuff because it wasn't on Adult Swim yet, or no, it wasn't on Adult Swim. It was part of Toonami for kids and UPN if you used to watch it with the Ocean Dub version of UPN and stuff like that, where it was even more ridiculous before Funimation took it over. But yeah, you can see where they're doing it more for kids.
This wrestles by Jimmy's.
But at the same time, I am a person who did like the filler. It helped with the structure of Gohan, Piccolo. Who does not talk about the filler episode of both in manga, because it was a fun throwaway manga bit, and it was in there in the manga for Akira Toriyama, but it was, like I said, a few page thing, but they turned it into a whole anime episode for the anime. Goku and Piccolo got their license. That was fucking great. I know a lot of people hated Garlic Jr., but I did like the Dead Zone, and I did enjoy the Garlic Jr. arc, because even though it was sort of a glossed over moment, I loved how those glossed over moments for Gohan, I think, was laying the groundwork for how instrumental Gohan was going to be in the defeat of Cell. Yes, he still needed his dad's help. He needed Android 16's reminder of fighting for the things you love is not terrible, or it's not going to make you evil, or doing this you don't want to fight, but it's okay to fight to protect those things. And again, everything culminates, and I know it's only in the English dub, but it's when Kyle LeBear says, as the narrator, that this was 16 years in the making, or not 16, 11 years in the making, because he was 12 when he came out of the time chamber. So 11 years in the making, and granted, even though it's not truly 11 years for the series, if you're sort of watching with the timeline, he was born, and everybody knew Gohan had this ability. Nobody knew how deep it went. So, again, who wasn't hyped whether you had Bruce Falconer's music or whether you had the traditional Japanese music playing in the background, you hear the English dub of Kyle LeBear saying that, and it's just like good fucking shit. And again, there's different structures that I like about it. And for Fullmetal Alchemist, it's the same, because we talked about it's the journeyman's tale, where in Hiromu Arakawa, since I know Brotherhood's more based off your manga, I don't mean to say it's your manga, I like it, but it's more romanticized and more like an action movie, where the original has drama, action, and more consequence to the brothers, Roy Mustang, other characters doing these decisions than just, we have to have vengeance, we have to have this, we have to have that. Not that what you did was bad, it's just that it's a weird layer cake of coincidence and comic book good versus evil.
Well, and
High Father, who I really is a good villain, but
well, you could say like plot contrivance too, because I mean, how many times did they get just lucky in that part of it? I mean, don't get me wrong, I still like Brotherhood, but to me, I think the best way I could describe it using Dragon Ball terms would be when Goku came back from Yardat, and everybody's like, "How did you do that? How did you get Roshi's glasses?" And he explains, "Well, they taught me a technique. I just focus on the life energy of somebody I'm thinking about, and then I'm able to move my body much more quickly because I'm only focusing on that one point." And I thought to myself, I miss that. Like, that's what I love about Bleach, like in the early seasons when they would explain these things, like, why is Ichigo having such a hard time learning new techniques? It's because he's always focusing only on power and speed. He's never doing the mental discipline, which Uryu was always doing. Why are Orihime's healing powers broken, but also at the same time kind of inconsistent? It's because it depends on like how she feels about the person she's trying to heal, or how her mind is in that particular moment and situation. I mean, I hate that people hate like Naruto for explaining that kind of stuff. I love that stuff.
Oh, same here.
For me, it just gets the creative juices in my own head flowing, you know?
Well, I know you haven't watched the whole thing with me yet, and I know I plan on doing the reviews and that stuff with you too, but it's sort of like the detractors of, and I don't mean to go on a different tangent of different animator guys, but it's like the detractors of a certain magical index or the whole spin-off series and all those series that culminate together for a complete. Everybody thinks there's too much exposition, there's too much explaining, and I always think when I look at that, but I don't mind if they explain it because you can see where it goes into the method of the science. So you're just not thinking, oh, they're able to do this because of this. They go into how they're able to do it, what people do to combat against it, what they can have, the relations between God and science and everybody. Well, yeah, of course. And I tell people, it's what makes it interesting because to me, it's what makes it believable and possible that this could happen. Maybe not so much with the science fiction edge, mind you, but it gives it the basis that makes you believe what these characters can do, good or evil.
It reminds me like of that fight between Neji and that one spider-cursed mark demon guy, where he's watching Neji from afar, trying to pinpoint the weakness in his soft hand technique.
Yeah.
Realizing that
in that one blind spot, just like right here.
It's right moments here. Like that,
very thin, but
I mean, call me crazy, but some of my favorite nerd shit is like when they explain how the Flash does what he does, like with like the Mach punch, the molecule destabilization when he's shifting between solid objects. Stuff like that just really touches the little nerd part of my head.
Well, it's just like how, again, it's funny how you brought up Naruto, because I just finished the first part of the Chunin exams where Naruto had that battle with Neji, and Neji learns, even though he had an animus against Naruto, an even bigger one against Hinata, the main head branch family, because they thought, oh, they just killed my father for my father taking place. And again, it was Hisashi, the older brother and head of the family, who hesitated wanting to kill his twin brother, because even though there were these things, and even his head family saying this is why we have the branch family, you could tell where Hisashi still loved his family, even if his brother was a part of the branch family. But then his brother, who disables his older brother, Hisashi, who basically punches out Hisashi, what a tongue twister. But Hisashi says, believe me, brother, I do hate you sometimes, and I did resent the head family. And it also stemmed for his son Neji showing honor to Hinata and him not having the same power his brother has. But at the same time, he's like, I do resent you, but I don't do this because I resent you. I want to do this because I do love you, I do love the village, and I also want to get out of this curse. And maybe through this way, I can finally show my love for you and showing my hatred for you, because honestly, my son Neji has seen that hatred. I want to hopefully show him something that's different to where it wasn't only this. And then he finally reads that scroll and, oh man, Hisashi bowing to Neji thinking it was his fault and just all these. And it's like, oh, and then Neji's like, no, don't bow to me. It's like, I understand what my dad did, and it's just like, oh, such good shit, because again, it's like, it just shows you the layers characters can have. And again, I guess the point is to that, going back to Brotherhood, is Brotherhood, or not Brotherhood, the original gives you the layers. Brotherhood, the political intrigue in Brotherhood is great. The political intrigue and all that stuff in Brotherhood is fucking excellent. It is. But it just skips those layers. It's like, oh, there's so many generals a part of the coup d'etat. There's so many people against this. There's so many people working against Roy Mustang. There's so many people. They find out about the Fuhrer like that. You know, fucking Mace Hughes, who gets this whole thing going, dies like that. And then I'm like, doesn't this feel rushed?
Yeah, and in Brotherhood, I mean, in the original, they already give you the implication that the other generals are corrupt just through Boskron. I mean, just through his actions alone and the fact that he was allowed to get away with this stuff for so long, you already get the implication that the other generals are dirty as well.
And what I like about the original, because I know we're sort of getting long in the tooth here, guys, but again, Jherick even said we probably would with this, and he was right. But what I liked about the original is, you see the original, You know the Fuhrer's after something. You can't tell he's a homunculus. And I'm sorry for spoiling that for you, but again, if you guys have seen our reviews of Brotherhood, you already know. But in the original, you can't tell he's a homunculus just yet. But you can see he's maybe after something. You don't know what it is yet, but you can see that there's a game being played between him and Mustang. And like I was telling people, the original was the first one I watched, not Brotherhood, and I kept thinking maybe the Fuhrer was after something good and it wasn't going to lead to something evil. Maybe there was something we weren't seeing. And then when that rug is pulled, in the original, it hurt. It hurt because I was hoping he wasn't going to be what I was hoping. Because you could see the Fuhrer was after something. I wasn't hoping it was going to be with the villains. I thought he was going to help the heroes. But in Brotherhood, it's just like, again, Brotherhood, since I mentioned Bradley, I love Fuhrer Bradley's backstory. He is a human. He was bred to be this way as they were doing with the plan, but you can tell there was, and there still is a humanity, there is a humanity in with Bradley, which is why I think Bradley's questioning some things they're doing, but you can tell since he's Wrath, his thirst for power is greater than his humanity, and even tells, Mustang after the whole, all the colonels have been reassigned, Mustang and the Elrics have been captured for the first time. They're not doing anything to them. They basically say, you guys need to stay alive, we need you for sacrifice. But, Mustang works the courage to tell the Fuhrer, so what's all this about? If you have this, you have a son, you have all these things, you were crying at here's his funeral, so why'd you do it? He's like, well, I hate all those things, and if you want to know the truth, whether I'm human or whether I'm Wrath, it doesn't matter. I'm just here to exist to do my job, and as long as I do my job, it doesn't matter. And as I've learned and I've seen, maybe this version of humanity has gone on for way too long, and that's how he views it. He views it in the least possible common denominators, which is stupid. But a guy who's trapped between being a demon and a human would probably view them that way.
Well, and that's also the military training. You got to go with the most. Well, you're supposed to go with the most practical and logical course of action, unless it interferes with those business contracts.
And again, I'm not trying to say that that's what they were trying to do in Brotherhood or what Hiromu Arikawa was trying to do in the manga, but what I like about the original too is you can see there's corruption in the military. It goes without saying. I also don't like the heavy-handedness on Nazism in Brotherhood. It's cool, but
yeah, it's kind of better when they just let you reach that conclusion logically by just, again, Maze's reactions when he's talking about how, he's trying to keep these things a little quiet because he doesn't want it to spread around Central too much because he doesn't trust all of the upper brass. Little things like that do a much better job because it lets you formulate your own opinions.
Well, again, and he does it in the form of comedy with probably because I didn't move it for a while, but he does it in the form of comedy where maybe you should get yourself a wife, but you can see where he tells Mustang that you have people moving against you, not only where you are in the East, but in Central, so everybody's fear. And again, they do it in Brotherhood, but we can see where there's all the strategy planning. He met with that one commander of the East, where he's saying, there's this, and even the commander of the East is getting worked up, saying there's all, and it's cool, but I don't know, it lacks the importance that the original is leading up to that I love, because, and again, it is about the brothers. Some of the supporting cast do take a back seat. It's true. But you can see where they're all still interconnected, and it's not just, we have to give everybody their time. And that's another thing that drives me nuts with Brotherhood is too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Maybe. And guys, I hate to say, this is me, and don't take this me hating the Chinese or anything, but I could have done everything without Jing. That the Alcastrian shit is cool. Jing did not need to be a part of this at all. I'm sorry, Hiromu Arikawa. I'm sorry. Because I like Ling. I like Shomei. I like Lanfang. They are good characters, but I'm like, none of you needed to be here.
That's kind of the sad
thing. None of you needed to be here at all.
And don't get me wrong, I do like
It's like, hey look, they're the connection with Xerxes and Nemestria. Well, what if there was just Xerxes, the Elrics discovered Xerxes, and Jing didn't need to be a part of it? Oh, yeah!
Now, don't get me wrong. I do understand why they would want to include it, because, I mean, again, China had a very different system of alchemy, and it may have been the first one. Mm-hmm. But, you know, alchemy didn't really hit it big worldwide until it hit the Mediterranean and then started making its way to Europe. So, honestly, yeah, we could have just done without the Xerxes.
Not to mention, remember what the Alchemist book focused on. There was connections to...
Plus, I mean, also, you know, if this is supposed to be, like, allegorical to World War I, China wasn't necessarily as big of a deal in World War I. That was more World War II.
Yeah. Well, remember, like I said, it is based off of World War II a little bit with what Hiromaru did.
Well, I mean, you know, the timeline would be more World War I, but you can tell by the technology advancement in the uniforms, yeah, they're going for more of a
World War II vibe.
Certain group of individuals from the Republic of Deutschland.
Well, again, that's why I say that, you know, that in that way is because, again, to me, what I like about it is that they could have discovered that all on their own. And again, I don't mind Jing and all that stuff being there, but it just seems it seems forced. Well, and again, I know we haven't gotten to those episodes, but it's like, oh, Ling and Greed actually form a bond in friendship. Then they form a bond in friendship with this guy. Then they form one with this guy. Now let's start feeling sorry for everybody.
Yeah.
I understand, but
now don't get me wrong.
They barely got to know Greed. Yeah. We haven't gotten to it in the original yet either. But there's things that Greed tells Edward that make more sense in the original than there does in Brotherhood. I'm sorry.
Now, don't get me wrong. That was a badass fight, but it's like, if he was going to swear that level of Brotherhood to somebody, it would be the Elrics.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But anyways, that's kind of a thing, but I mean, hey, you know, I almost forgot to mention, since, you know, I did bring up the failed art students of Austria via the Republic of Deutschland, Jabon. Well, it is Oktoberfest, so drink them if you got them.
Well, I will say this, because me and Jherick even said, we probably will go over some of this stuff again, so we're sorry if we're driving something nuts with some of you now, but probably before we move on to our next anime per se, with what we're going to do, with whatever we do after both Brotherhood and the original end. But we said we probably would do maybe hopefully a fast or really quick thing where we talk about the pros and the cons, what we like. It'll probably be sort of like this mishmash where we're just bouncing off each other. But, I mean, again, there's a structure to the original I like.
Yeah.
And it's a journeyman's tale. It makes everything a struggle. It makes a learning curve between different characters, the Elrics, the people at the military who really care, all the different, like, the random soldiers Edward and Alphonse have met, other alchemists who've done things for power like Mugir, Majahal, everyone they've run into with their own ambitions, even the one who was a thief, who was saving the town but was still a thief and lying to their face. It made them see where everybody had their own unique thing for power or doing good things in their own way. Which way is the correct? Because again, they all thought alchemy could be used for a force for good, but all these things were eye-opening to the Elrics that has made them improve or possibly hinder their decisions.
Which, you know, kind of reminds me of, like, the Lupin movies.
And again, everything interconnects, which is what I love. No filler here, guys, even though you want to call it filler. I've seen the comment sections. I know it's not filler. It all connects in the original, so come at me.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. You want real useless filler? Ask Disney Star Wars. But I mean, hey, as long as it looks like we're reaching our limits, so you know, I guess we should get to our favorite.
Well, we could, but yeah, we'll get to it.
Yeah, so probably time to talk about our favorite actors for this one.
Well, yeah, you guys know honestly, Jherick, I'll just tell you really quick. I said everybody because everybody did a great job. I just went down the list and mentioned everybody really quick. But do you have one, or I would say one or two, because since the cast is so fucking small.
I'll try to narrow it, but yeah, number one is definitely gonna be Barry the Chopper. Man, he went above and beyond.
He was high on my list. He was.
I almost gave it to the Slasher Brothers, though. They were also quite excellent.
Yes. Well, let me give their names. Jerry Jewell, Kentaro Ito for Barry and number 66. For 48 older and younger, Bill Jenkins, Shinya Utaki, and then Duncan Brannon, Koyuchi Sagayuchi.
And of course, next up we got a tie between Ed and Al because had to be.
Oh yeah.
Everybody.
Well, again, Vic Mignogna, Romy Paku, great performance and desperation. Aaron Desmook, Rie Kugamiya, great naivety, great reactions, great fun. But when they both had to break and again, I'm not saying Rie Kugamiya did a bad job. She was great, but Aaron Desmook, his breakdown is Edward 2, even for him being, I think they said 11, 12, I think 11, 12, and I think when they did the movie it was 13. So for 11, 12-year-old kid to break down like that and really lose it and give that much emotion, because sometimes it's hard for kids to do it. I know Aaron Desmook, I think they said, was a stage actor, just like the one voice actor who was like Kevin Korn, who was a part of Dean Angel and so many early ADV movies, and ADV was still around, but no, I mean, some kids can act really, really well, and again, I have to agree with you, they were great performances.
And Vic had great range all over the place.
Oh yeah.
Serious, scared, cunning, meticulous, and then the breakdown at the end was so good.
Yeah, well, again. Showing his kind and compassionate, refusing to kill even his enemies.
The Alchemist of voice acting, Vic Mignogna.
Something that, for a kid who doesn't believe in God, you sure have a lot of God's compassion to your fellow man, and you love your enemies as you would love thyself.
Hey man, let's be honest, it looks like he's having a slow transition to his Charlie Kirk moments, which, by the way, rest in peace, Mr. Kirk.
Yes, I didn't know you were going to do that, but yeah, rest in peace, Mr. Kirk. You will be surely missed. May God go with you again.
Indeed.
And
our king.
And again, guys, with all that we said, and again, sorry for the rant. Who knows? Maybe we won't even rant near the end of this because we've given you guys these options several times, but we probably will be bringing it up as we go along again and again. But go ahead.
How ironic! I just realized something. I'm wearing Jesse's Zombie JLT1's favorite T-shirt.
Yeah, did it twice now.
Get banished to the Shadow Realm. I'm wearing the Altered Beast T-shirt, which, considering we're talking about alchemy and human transmogrification, and on a side note,
rise from your grave.
Indeed, and on a side note, our prop master, Mr. Warburton, celebrated his 49th birthday.
Yep.
Iponmen Sun.
But again, what did you guys think? Like I said, remind, just leave your comments down below. Let us know what you think, and let's get this discussion going. If you guys even want to talk about a rant, or if you want to, and again, if you want to discuss with us how Brotherhood is better, or how the original was better, or like me and Jherick, you like both, but you can like sort of one over the other, because we do like both. I know it sounds like we hate Brotherhood, but we're just saying. Everybody thinks Brotherhood is a masterpiece.
Or heck,
Brotherhood is good, it's just flawed. Brotherhood is flawed.
Or hell, if you want to, maybe in the comment section, tell us if you want to hear some crazy Marvel and DC rants. We got lots of those.
Well, we got Marvel and DC stuff coming, because I figured while we're going in between stuff, since we try to switch up maybe the action movies or certain movies in a point, we'll probably go in between the comic book movies, and we'll definitely. I do have quite a bit of Phase 2 and some of Phase 3 where stuff started going off the rails, so I don't... Yeah. Now, if you guys want me to get some of the stuff from Phase 3 onward, let me know, because I'm either going to have to get the stuff for streaming, or I'll have to try to see where I can buy these things, as much as I don't want to, but remember what I've said, and this is what people have said to me. I should do some bad stuff with some good stuff, so again, if you guys want me to... Put stuff down in the comments again that you want me to review certain things that even if I don't like it, I will, and I will fucking sit through it like so many of our predecessors who've done it. I mean, because I'll admit, I will be like Nostalgia Critic and your Critical Drinker and you know, CinemaSins and so many others who've come before have done the same damn shit. So,
oh God,
just you know, let me know, all right?
If they ask us to do Book of Boba Fett, we're gonna need way more rum.
Well, I don't even know if they put that one out on DVD. We'd have to try to see if that one's still on Disney Plus and get Disney Plus back for that one. So, all right, but yeah, just let us know, guys. But this is 012 Boku and
Jherick the Jackass.
And we'll see you guys again later, all right? See ya.
Deuces.